It is officially week one, and I cannot tell you how excited I am. But the reality still is that if you don't have the right kicker in fantasy, it could cost you your week. So today we're going through the top 12 kickers for fantasy football week one, and I'm doing everything I can to possibly get us ready for week one fantasy football. So make sure to go down there and drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel to show your support if you are just excited for football. Now, I want to start by saying that I have seen a lot of people asking me in the chat what the real value of the automated waiver wire tool is. So I just figured the best way for you to get accustomed to it, if you don't already understand it, is for me to give you a 12-day free trial. So if you're counting the days, that means you're going to be able to use the waiver wire tool for this upcoming week when the waivers run and for the duration of week two. It is such a huge deal and a huge value to you because the value you're getting from the automated waiver tool is something you don't even know about yet because it's never been brought to the market. No more waking yourself up at 3 in the morning once waivers clear to try to grab someone on priority ads. Those days are over with the automated waiver tool. And in addition, on the 12-day free trial, you'll also get access to my full top 200 rankings. It's actually going to be top 260 when I put my defense and kickers on there as well. So just go to fsroundup.com right now to start your free trial because it brings you more value than you could ever imagine with the waiver wire tool. Now, getting into our first tier of guys, I've got Mr. Cam Little at number 1 versus the Carolina Panthers. If you do not know the legend of Cam Little hit a 70 freaking yard field goal during the preseason. And he had several other long field goals during the preseason as well. But I'm going to go based off the amount of leg the guy has that we saw in the preseason and say, I don't even care if the Jaguars can't get the ball in the end zone versus the Panthers, which they should be able to at least a couple times. This offense will be able to move the ball down the field enough to get Cam Little into big boy range because that's what he has, is 60, 70-yard plus range on this guy's leg. Number 2, I've got Chase McLaughlin at Atlanta, and I've actually got Younghoe Koo at number 3 in the same tier for Atlanta. Now, I've been discussing this one all week. This is a matchup that you want in on, plain and simple, end of story. Like this matchup last year produced 66 points in the first game and 57 in the second game. Now, there's probably going to be a bunch of touchdowns in this game. But the bottom line is, in a high-scoring matchup, in a high over-under, you want options in fantasy in those positions. This week, Tampa Bay's kicker Chase McLaughlin, I think, is probably the better bet because of Younghoe Koo's inaccuracy issues at certain points. Where with Younghoe Koo, he just is a little bit more inaccurate than someone like a Chase McLaughlin, so you have to factor that into the decision. I think Chase McLaughlin is the number 2 guy, while Younghoe Koo is number 3, but either way, both of these guys belong in tier 1 because of this matchup upside that they both present. Dropping down to our next tier, I've got Ka'imi Fairbairn of the Houston Texans at number 4, and he's going to Los Angeles to take on the Rams during that 3 o'clock window in Central Time. Now, with Ka'imi Fairbairn, this is a guy on an offense that I do think will be really ideal for a fantasy kicker for the second straight year because I do like CJ Stroud a lot, but he is getting no help up front with his offensive line. So what will happen is he will push the ball down the field by making really good throws. And they will get enough of a running game to be able to sustain drives. But what's going to happen ultimately is they're going to get sacked and they're going to have to kick field goals. Ka'imi Fairbairn, while he struggles with inaccuracy sometimes, is largely a really good kicker who has plenty of leg. He kicked a 59-yard long field goal last year. In general, I just don't distrust him enough to rank him outside the top 5 when I know this guy has given 20-point performances in fantasy football. Yeah, that's what he can do for you. So in this matchup that I think is particularly tough with the Los Angeles Rams defense, I do expect them to kick a bunch of field goals in this game. And at number 5, I've got Chris Boswell as well at the New York Jets. Now, I do have Chris Boswell ranked higher in my 2025 overall kicker rankings, but again, you have to factor in matchup here. The bottom line is the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be a low-scoring team for the majority of the season, but I think in this game in particular, this will be a defensive slugfest because the Jets do have a good defense, and it's now run by Aaron Glenn, a superior defensive coordinator. Now, the thing that I like about Boswell still is that Boswell also has plenty of leg as well, and he has very few accuracy issues. Like, the guy misses 3 kicks a year. That's pretty crazy. So you can count on Boz if he's within a 60-yard range, basically. And I think this is the game that they could kick 4 field goals in. Like a 12-7 type of victory for the Steelers. I could easily see that because it happened last year in week 1 against Atlanta. I think this is very much on the table, and Boswell needs to be inside the top 5. Jason Sanders at number 6. He's going to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Now, Jason Sanders in this Miami offense, I have said, I do think Tyreek Hill is not going to be great, but I also think it's worth noting that Miami's offense typically comes out hot. They are a team that does really well in the month of September, so I do expect them to put up points on the Indianapolis Colts. Now, the one thing about Indianapolis that I do like is that they brought on Lou Anarumo from the Cincinnati Bengals to be their defensive coordinator. Now, he sucked last year, but he's had a long history of doing well as a DC in the NFL, so I do expect them to stop Miami a couple of times, putting Jason Sanders in range. But I really don't love Sanders that much in full transparency because he does have his accuracy issues. But I still think game script is going to matter, and it's going to be the deciding factor on this one. And at number 7, to round out this tier, Chad Ryland of the Arizona Cardinals, going to New Orleans to take on the Saints. Matchup. Like, Chad Ryland, I think, is going to be a good kicker in the NFL. We didn't get much from him last year. He missed 4 games, went on the IR, and missed 5 total kicks. So the accuracy is there, and it looks like the leg is there as well with a 58-yard long. I need to see more from Chad Ryland to really put him close to that elite tier of kickers, but I will say that the matchup itself is freaking elite. I mean, this Saints matchup is so perfect for everybody this year. They're going to be the league's punching bag. It's going to be quite an embarrassment for them this year. So I think that Chad Ryland just has a great opportunity to take advantage of such a weak matchup. And Arizona's offense already stalls out. That's what they do a bunch. So Chad Ryland, I think, is in really good position to be a top 7 kicker this week. Dropping down to our next tier, I've got Brandon McManus at number 8 versus the Detroit Lions at home in Green Bay. Brandon McManus was pretty clutch last year. When he actually came on for the Green Bay Packers, he averaged 9 fantasy points per game. He only missed 1 kick all year with Green Bay. And this is a guy who's seen all kinds of weather. Played in Denver for a little while. It's really cold and the air is thin there. Played in Jacksonville where it's hot and the air is thick. Now he's in Green Bay where it's super cold. Now, this time of year, it's not terrible for Green Bay, but I will say this, Brandon McManus has been around, and I trust Brandon McManus' leg. So in this matchup versus Detroit, I do think that there will be points to be had. I just wonder how many times they're going to actually have to kick a field goal. And I might be totally underestimating the Detroit defense, but I worry about them without Aaron Glenn. So I think this could be more of a touchdown scoring game for Green Bay than it is field goals. That's why Brandon McManus is at 8 instead of higher, which I would like to put him at. Tyler Loop of the Baltimore Ravens at number 9. No more Justin Tucker for obvious reasons. So they move on to Tyler Loop to play the Buffalo Bills on Sunday night. Can't wait for this Sunday night game. Should be a freaking banger. But Tyler Loop is in a position to where I don't know what to think of him yet. Obviously, we want in on a Baltimore kicker because it worked out so well for Justin Tucker for so long. But the reality is we don't really know what to think of Tyler Loop just yet. Like any rookie kicker or any new kicker to a new environment, there's going to be nerves. Everybody goes through this. So it wouldn't surprise me if Tyler Loop misses a couple big field goals in this game and this ranking is way off. But if the guy is cool, calm, and collected under pressure, then he should be fine because the matchup will offer plenty of points. I'm putting him at 9 right now to safeguard myself for the possibility of a disaster because the guy's never played for the team before. And whether we like it or not, he is following big shoes.
This is Ted. Look at him. Ted desperately needs to pick up a new running back, or his fantasy team is toast. For the 3rd year in a row. And losing his season again means one thing.
Oh no.
Don't be Ted. Use Fantasy Football Roundup to automate your waiver pickups and take a breather this season.
Hey, you got 7 more laps.
Dropping down to our last tier, Brandon Aubrey is at 10, and I'm sure people were wondering where Brandon Aubrey will be. There's a couple reasons Aubrey's down lower than I would like him to be. First of all, he's going to Philadelphia tonight to take on the Eagles. Can't wait for football. Second of all, though, it's a brutal matchup. And while I do think that the Cowboys will score garbage time points in particular tonight, I do also think it's worth mentioning that this Eagles defense knows the Cowboys. They're going to be weaker offensively, and I just don't know if I can see them scoring more than 2 touchdowns in this game. So I get it. Brandon Aubrey's leg is incredible. He's accurate. He's probably the best kicker in the league. But I don't think that this is a great matchup for him. If he was taking on the Green Bay Packers even, or the Las Vegas Raiders, for example, I'd be all over Brandon Aubrey. I think this is a rough matchup for him to start with. Jake Bates at 11. At the Green Bay Packers, Detroit Lions kicker. I like him. I think Jake Bates is a good kicker. We saw a lot of good stuff from Jake Bates last year. He actually ended up being the kicker number 7, 9.5 fantasy points per game. The bottom line with Jake Bates, I think this could be a very touchdown-heavy game, to which I would say I don't love the option of getting a kicker in a touchdown-heavy game. And I do think that there's potential for Detroit's offense to have some growing pains with John Morton as coordinator instead of Ben Johnson. So I do think there's a couple things that play here with Detroit I'm not as in on in week 1. But that being said, Jake Bates in range, like the guy is accurate and he does have a leg. So I do have to put him inside the top 12 for sure. And then Will Reichard of the Minnesota Vikings to round us out at number 12, going to Chicago to take on the Bears. Will Reichard, again, not his best matchup. I think the kicker is really good. He did have inaccuracy issues. I do think it's very worth noting. He missed 6 kicks in 13 games. Like, that's not ideal. But he does have leg, 58-yard long, and the offense is very much set up. Honestly, I think it's even more set up for him this year because J.J. McCarthy, I think, struggles more than Sam Darnold. And I think they have stall-out drives. But the reason I'm not big on the Minnesota Vikings this week is because I've said it several times. I think it's a tough matchup for J.J. McCarthy to go on the road in Chicago on a Monday night primetime game as your first NFL start. I think that's tough. So I think Minnesota and Chicago could be in this, 17-14 type of game, and I think that obviously minimizes the upside for someone like Will Reichard, but I will keep him in here just because of the offense's talent and the ability to push the ball down the field. So let me know what you think of the kicker rankings in the comments below, and if you want to see the top 12 defense rankings for week 1, click on this video right here.